Sudden advance of the Russian army into the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Russian army prepares to cross the Dnieper River. Good afternoon, dear friends. We continue to analyze the situation on the front lines with you in our daily format. Yesterday, Zelensky stated that Russia is not in a strong position because it is not achieving anything on the battlefield. This is Zelensky's reality. Another reality is, what has the Russian army lost? On the contrary, it has gained over 400 square kilometers of territory, and in the last 2 days, it has taken 2 more settlements. It seems that these realities do not intersect. Well, we continue to study the situation on the front lines. Let's open the map. So today, in our usual format, we will move from south to north. There is plenty of news from the front. Another settlement taken by Russian troops, evacuations from several cities, Mirnograd and Konstantinovka. An urgent evacuation has been announced, and this is a city with a population of 100,000 people. Plus, the defense of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, near Lyman is cracking. In general, there is a lot of interesting news. But let's take it step by step. Let's start from the south, from the area of Velika Novosilka. The front here has become noticeably active, and this was to be expected. As before Velika Novosilka came under Russian control, it was a heavily fortified area that absorbed a huge amount of forces. Accordingly, after this fortified area fell, a large number of forces were freed up. Therefore, simultaneous movement has now begun both to the south and to the north. To the south, here, you can see the movement towards Silna Novosilka, that is, the ordinary Novosilka. It is a small, ordinary village, and now Russian troops are on the outskirts of this village. The village itself, as you can see, is small, so it is unlikely that the Ukrainian armed forces will be able to hold back the offensive potential of the Russian troops for long. Beyond Novosilka, the movement will continue towards Volnopol and then towards Shevchenko. Yes, this is another Shevchenko, the third in the Donetsk region. Plus, as I already mentioned, movement has also begun to the north from Novyi Komar. Here, let's measure it. About 2.5 kilometers have been covered. Russian troops moved forward from the village and reached a natural barrier, a river. The main thing here is that Novosheredovatoye is now essentially blocked from the eastern side, as you can see on the map. But the main goal of the movement in this sector is the village of Otradnoye, and reaching the Zaporizhzhia-Kurakov highway to completely disrupt the logistics of the villages in the eastern direction. By the way, we are also moving eastward. Here, the movement is from Razdolne to Bogatyr. Russian troops are also approaching Razliv and Constantinople. The main goal is, of course, to close the cauldron, so that this entire territory is completely blockaded. For context, the total area is 25 square kilometers. In Daknoy, the final stage of the fighting is underway. The UAF is holding only the western outskirts, and even this control or defense is not solid, and it may even end today, or by the time you are watching this video, the situation may have already reached its conclusion. Then, the movement will continue towards Ulakli, and the battles for Ulakli will begin. In any case, I publish all the latest information on my Telegram channel, so go ahead and subscribe. The link is in the description of this video. Now let's talk about Andriivka. The fighting has shifted to the central part of the village, and a Ukrainian armed forces soldier who runs a Telegram channel described the situation there with a swear word starting with the letter P. You all know that word. In general, they have lost contact with the UAF garrison command in Andriivka, so the situation is dire, and it is expected, as I already mentioned, from the Ukrainian side, that they will not be able to hold back the Russian troops for long. Although Andriivka is a large village, its fall is expected soon. Let's move on. Let's return to the situation on this entire sector. Over the past day, there has been significant progress here. The fighting for the village of Serebryanka is coming to an end. As you can see on the map, half of the village is under stable Russian control, and the other half is a grey zone. But the Ukrainian armed forces do not control anything here. Moreover, look, Russian troops have already entered the next village, Zaporizhzhia. Fighting is already underway there. Now look to the west. 3 villages, Bodanivka, Troitske, and Horokov. Beyond that, the open spaces stretch all the way to the Dnipropetrovsk region. In general, the Ukrainian armed forces have big problems on the western flank of Pokrovsk. If we move there, there are no significant changes. The redeployment of reserves by the Ukrainian Armed Forces Command has had an impact. They were able to stabilize the situation for themselves, at least temporarily. Well, that is, they cannot push the Russian troops out of their positions, but at least the rapid advance of the Russian troops has been temporarily halted. That is, fighting continues in Udakne. Over the past day, they managed to take control of part of this street and part of that street. Also from Kotlin, they managed to advance 1 kilometer along the railway towards the outskirts of Pokrovsk. That's all for the western flank of Pokrovsk. But the situation is different on the eastern flank. Reserves were also deployed here, but they did not help. First, they are fixed on the Mirnograd sector, specifically from the village of Mykolivka. In connection with this, a mandatory evacuation of the remaining residents of Mirnograd has been announced, and there are still about 3,000 of them there. And it's clear why. Evacuation. Look, at the moment, Russian positions are just 1 kilometer from the southern outskirts of the city. It is not certain that there will be an assault, as the goal is not a frontal attack, but encirclement. Nevertheless, it is an interesting fact. As for the situation in this sector, it is even more interesting. Yesterday, fighting began for this village, Dnipropetrovsk, and it ended the same day. That is, it lasted less than a day. The UAF could not hold back the pressure and retreated to Tarasivka. Thus, Dnipropetrovsk is now under full and undisputed Russian control. Movement is also underway towards Zelene Pole, but so far without any entry into this village. It has not been recorded yet. There is also an interesting situation in the area. In the city itself, well, in the area of the mine. No changes there. The mine is roughly divided in control, 50-50. But the village of Severnyi Krimska has come under Russian control, and the Ministry of Defense confirmed this fact yesterday. Now the movement is towards the neighboring village, Dakhne. It has also become known that an urgent evacuation of the city of Konstantinovka has begun. This city is large, both in area and population, 100,000 people. Yes, it is located in a lowland, so defending it will be extremely difficult. But still, the UAF is currently preparing it for defense. Although, if you look at Ukrainian telegram channels, there is panic, and it's clear why. Look, previously the advance of Russian troops towards Konstantinovka was held back by Chasiv Yar and the heights south of Chasiv Yar, here near the southern outskirts and the village of Stupochki. But now these heights have come under Russian control, and not just part of them, but all of them. Thus, the only obstacle now is Stupochki and the southern outskirts of Chasiv Yar. But it is important to understand that since the heights are now under Russian control, they will use them to fire on Stupochki and this southern outskirts, and they will not be able to hold back the Russian troops for long. Then, after the UAF is forced to retreat, Stupochki. Look, there is a direct road to Konstantinovka, just a 5-kilometer highway to the city. Another headache for Ukrainian analysts is the situation in the Lyman area. There, Russian troops continue to move along the right bank of the Zherebets River, and yesterday several strongholds on the approaches to the village of Kolodezi were occupied. Look here, after Kolodezi, the path to the city is open. Hence the panic. The situation on the left bank is also unfavorable for them, I mean for the Ukrainian armed forces. Yesterday, Russian troops attempted to advance from Ternov towards Yampolivka and gain a foothold on the northern outskirts. According to preliminary data, or rather even according to information from the Ukrainian side, they managed to gain a foothold on the northern outskirts of Yampolivka. Thus, in general, in the very near future, battles are expected for several cities: Mirnograd, Konstantinovka, and Lyman. Plus, we should not forget about the bridgehead in the Kharkiv region, which continues to expand every day. So it is possible that battles will also take place for the city of Kupiansk, because the overall atmosphere in the UAF is quite grim. Even Western media write that, according to surveys, when they talk to UAF soldiers, they see hopelessness. Because the Ukrainian army is forced to retreat every day, lose tens of square kilometers, and there are no positive prospects for them in sight. Novopavlivka direction as of March 2, 2025. Situation: The intensity of hostilities in this area remains high. The main efforts of one of the sides are concentrated in the area of the settlements of Andriivka and Constantinople. The goal is to expand the section of the front where UAF units in the area of the Vovcha River may find themselves in a state of operational encirclement, which could lead to significant losses. At the moment, despite slow progress, tactical successes are noted in the area of Andriivka and Dakhny. The advance continues, albeit with certain difficulties. But my review has come to an end. I wish you a good working day.